Good evening. We are on lecture 18, Reflection on STEAM Practices. So while we talked about assessment in the previous lecture, we talked about formative and summative. And one of the pointers was on reflection, which we are going to be digging a little deeper now on in this lesson. Let me share the screen. So here we are on lecture 18, reflection on STEAM teaching practices. We have three purposes. The role of reflection in improving STEAM instruction. Number two will be the culturally sensitive reflective practice. And the third is the mini assessment as usual, where we're going to have a reflective journal entry on a STEAM lesson. The role of reflection in STEAM introduction. While we talk about assessment, one of the core pointers is reflecting with our children. One is for the teachers to reflect on their lessons, and the other part is the children reflecting on their learning experiences and how much of outcome has been achieved. So it's just not looking back to what has happened, but analyzing what has happened and how we can improve that in the future lesson. So basically, when you do a lesson, when we reflect as a self-reflection for the teacher, we kind of put a criteria out there and see what are the criteria that has been achieved. And if there is something loosely connected, we go back and redo the lesson so that that objective is also taken care of. So when we talk about analyzing reflection, the first part is the definition of reflection itself. Start by defining reflection in the context of education. It emphasizes the involvement of thinking deeply about one's own learning experience, action, and the thought process. Why is it important? It's particularly important in STEAM education because it highlights how STEAM subjects often involve complex problem solving and experimentation and creativity, making reflection essential for making and understanding and improving the learning process. Number three is promoting metacognition. What is metacognition? Metacognition is thinking about our own thinking process. Reflects on promoting metacognition, which is the ability to think about one's own thinking. By reflecting on their own experiences, children develop their strengths and weaknesses and the learning preferences. The last part is connecting the 21st century skills, which is our global citizens now, and how this reflection part fosters critical thinking, collaborative communication, and creativity skills in the 21st century education. What are the benefits? Reflection plays a very important role in supporting the children's cognitive, emotional, and the social development. We talked about the 7 areas of development in the previous lecture for the early years. So it helps helps in supporting the young learners. The benefits are enhanced learning outcomes, share research findings and examples demonstrating how reflective practices enhance children's learning outcomes. For example, reflecting on a science experiment helps children understand scientific concepts more deeply. Number two is promotion of growth mindset. Reflection promotes a growth mindset by teaching children to see challenges as opportunities for growth and learning rather than the failures. So basically, they take failures as a learning process and a learning outcome for them. Number three is development of self-regulation skills. Reflection helps children develop self-regulation skill by encouraging them to monitor and evaluate their own behavior and learning progress. Number four is the social and the emotional learning part. It fosters social and emotional development by recognizing children um, to express their feelings, empathize with others, and also develop positive relationship. The different strategies for integrating reflection into this. Some of my favorite ones are out here. There are a few of them which are my favorite. My favorite is always think, pair, share, exit tickets, and also the reflective discussion. To help childhood educators, early childhood educators, it's very important to have reflection as a practice. The first part is, of course, journaling or drawing, where we encourage children to keep reflection journals where they can record their own thoughts, observation, and questions relating to their STEAM experiences. The second one is my Think, Pair, Share, which is my favorite, where children have time to individually reflect on a question or a prompt, discuss their thoughts with their partner, and then share their ideas with the class. Number three is reflective discussions. It facilitates group discussions where children can share their reflection on their learnings. We also encourage them to listen actively to their peers and ask questions to deepen their understanding. This is my favorite, the exit tickets. You can use them formally or informally for the children to reflect on what they have learned at the end of the lesson. It takes 5 minutes to do the reflection at the end of the lesson. Any of these could be the last 5 minutes. It's very important in all lessons that we have the last 5 minutes for the reflection of the lesson for the children and for the teachers too. When you do the exit tickets, it could be, as simple as a smiley face, or it could be asking a very open-ended question that what was the most challenging part, or what was your most favorite part? What do you think you would like to learn more about? It could be any of these, depending upon um, the your young learner, whoever it is. So you can have a complex reflection task or a very simple, depending upon their interest. The last one is, of course, the feedback loops, where we create opportunities for ongoing reflection and feedback by providing children with their constructive feedback and encourage them to reflect on how they can improve in the future. Again, we talk about culturally sensitive practices, reflective practices, where every child it feels valued, respected, and represented. It's very important as a part of our learning planning. We bring this important reflective practice. Some of the strategies are cultural identity exploration, where you encourage the children to explore and celebrate their own cultural identities through reflection activities such as storytelling, sharing family traditions, creating artwork based on wherever they are. Other part is inclusive literature and resources. Basically, select books, toys, and learning materials that reflect a diverse background and experience of the children in our classroom. After reading or using these resources, engage the children in a very reflective discussion about how the storytelling or the activities relate to their own lives. Cultural exchange and dialogue. Basically, we talk about how we appreciate different cultures and through interaction with peers and of diverse backgrounds. We encourage a very open dialogue, fostering mutual respect and empathy. The critical reflection is where the children develop a very critical thinking skills by reflecting on questioning questioning what they have read or what they have encountered in their everyday life. It could be while they were on their way to school, what is something that they have a question about. We also encourage them to consider alternative challenges, stereotypes through role play and discussions. Culturally responsive teaching practices will be how we can develop and reflect our own teaching experiences and ensure that they are culturally responsive. Consider how you would incorporate children's language, backgrounds, and experience into the curriculum and make it meaningful for the children and for the family. When we talk about family and community involvement, we invite parents to share their cultural traditions, language, and festivals within the class so that we appreciate, to show that we appreciate diversity within our own family and communities. Reflection on social justice issues is basically help them to develop empathy, critical thinking skills, and a sense of agency to work through the more equitable society. For the teachers, it is continual self-reflection and professional development. It's very important to seek out professional development opportunity to enhance our cultural competence in serving diverse learners. So here we are on our mini assessment reflective journal entry. The lesson is going to be exploring patterns in nature. What is the objective? The objective of this lesson is going to introduce students to the concept of patterns in nature through hands-on exploration. Remember we did with using the patterns, shapes, and making their own structures. Here is exploring the patterns in nature. So if you see, there are different steps to this mini task or the mini assessment that I have set up for you all, which you could do it in your classroom using your children, your lesson. It will take about 45 minutes of your time to get this lesson in place. You basically start discussing about the patterns and brainstorming different patterns they may observe in their class everyday life. And then we take them on a nature walk, or you could also do is collect all the natural elements like leaves, flowers, and rocks and bring it to the classroom. And once we are in the classroom, you group them and you ask the children to sort out and categorize or classify the natural objects based on the common characteristics or patterns. You can give them simple tools like a sheet of paper, magnifying lens, rulers, to examine the object very closely. And then as a group, they kind of create pattern collages using these objects. They can arrange them or to demonstrate different types of patterns like A, B, A, B, C, A, B, B, B. It depends on what the child wants to be doing. We do not give them any ideas, but they make their own patterns. So step 3 is planning, is where you ensure that all the materials that you're using is safe and it's age appropriate. The learning walk should provide a very enriching experience for the students as they explore their surroundings. While you do that, it's very important to look out or watch out for children who are struggling to articulate their observation, who needs to kind of help to start their observation. So you ask them or provide them with prompting questions to scaffold their thinking and encourage them to think deeper. Integration of reflection throughout the lesson, encourage children to reflect on the patterns they observed in nature, consider why these patterns exist. Basically, you can go about talking about camouflage and why patterns. You can even talk about the zebra crossing that we have and how the zebra, the white and the black stripes, how are they different, how each one of them, how they camouflage, in their habitat. You can also talk about how insects or bugs are used as pollinators for the new plants to be growing. While we do all these tasks, remember to be very sensitive about including every child, depending upon their interest, depending upon their background, depending upon their language. See that they are all engaged and they all are participating in this lesson. While you do the assessment and the feedback at the end of the lesson or while the learning is happening, you could have this one-on-one personal conversations. You can do an anecdotal record of what you observe. In the early years, we also you can have a journal, an interactive journal where you could click pictures of the children as an evidence of what they are learning, and then you can have a discussion or a reflection with them, and you can actually scribe it in your journal, put it down or type it out. If you're using a digital portfolio, you can just type in all the information that the child has given. You could also, if it is a digital one, you could also add a video to your reflection or assessment part. What I need from you teachers is, after you do this task, while we are on a live lecture, we can actually talk about how this lesson, how you developed it and how did it work for you, and what would be some next steps that you will take to make it more engaging and more meaningful for your children. We will reflect while we are on the live session. So conclusion about the three major purpose is reflection empowers practical strategies and empowers the children, enhances the learning experience for the young children, and also empowers the young children to reflect on their thinking pattern. The second part is to be very sensitive about the being inclusive and seeing that we honor and celebrate diverse background and experiences, so that you are laying the foundation for a lifelong learner and respect for others, developing empathy and mutual respect for each other. Hands-on exploration, as always, gives opportunities for children to observe, analyze, deepen their understanding of the scientific concept, but also they also cultivate curiosity and appreciation for the natural world. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing here. I really hope this lesson is helpful for you, and I really look forward to have a discussion while we are on a live lecture. All the very best. Ayu Bhavan.
So high, I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.